Kyle's still famous! And we're gonna play this game more. I really want to play it. If you guys want to see the first 3 endings we got, I'll leave a card up there. I'll leave a card up there probably. Kyle wakes up. He's famous. Kyle is the host of the most popular talk show in recent memory, Stay Up Late with Kyle. Stay Up Late with Kyle has grown in popularity quickly in the last year, and the public has noticed. Inside called Kyle a most excellent dumpy white man, like me. I made that joke last time. Top Tech noted that Kyle is inspiring youth to explore STEM fields. Most other talk shows are dedicated to discussing Kyle and his personal details. Most online videos are best of clips taken from Kyle's latest broadcast. The eye of the world is upon Kyle. Tonight is Kyle's most important guest interview yet. Stay Up Late with Kyle will be featuring Rachel May. She's a kind and lovely philanthropist. Kind of like Rachel Ray. She's dear to the hearts of many. This interview requires preparation. Kyle cracked his eyes open, knowing today is his last chance to prepare for the interview. Kyle has 30 hours left. He must choose his actions wisely. Kyle's first decision of the morning is made wisely. Wither away! Kyle decides to stay put and wither away. Kyle withered away successfully and died. Shucks! Kyle's now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities. Get out of bed anyways. Kyle exited his bed and took a quick glance around his bedroom. I am going to open the closet. Kyle opened the closet. It was dark and he could only really see his hanging shirts. Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is. We're gonna do skunk pasties. Kyle chose the pasties made out of mashed skunk flesh. Getting the slimy garment to stay proved difficult, so Kyle opted to stick to... But he's a ghost! Getting the slimy garments to stay proved difficult, so Kyle opted to stick them to his body with hot glue. Back to the room. Exit to bedroom hallway. Kyle walked into the small hallway that connects the rooms of his apartments together. Check locked door. Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but quickly found that it was locked from the inside. Float through as a ghost. Kyle used his ghostly powers to walk straight through the door. Go inside. Kyle found himself in the room. He stashed the various items sent to him by fans. Check sewing machine, check supernatural artifact, or get laser claymore. I want to do a laser claymore because that sounds awesome. Expecting a battle, Kyle grabbed the laser claymore. Kyle, you know what? Laser claymore and armor. I bet those are 2 things. Kyle found himself in the room. He stashed the various items sent to him by fans. This is one of the many mysterious artifacts Kyle has been sent over the years. Grab the artifact. Kyle stashes the artifact for later use. Check sewing machine. Kyle walked over to the dilapidated sewing machine. Its box was only half removed. The apartment. Kyle walked into the middle of the road and took a long pondering look around him. Visit the tech store. Kyle walked into the clean white tech store. He was greeted by Techno Jim, an elaborate cutout mascot with flashing lights. Give review of free sample. This phone, Kyle said, is several years old and has exposed wires coming out the back. Kyle continued, the phone also had screen issues after I used it to hammer nails to the wall for a painting. Furthermore, when I submerged it in water, I get severely shocked until it runs out of batteries. The attendant looked at Kyle, pursed his lips, and said nothing. Feeling he had made his argument, Kyle decided to leave. Kyle approached his downstairs neighbor's door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door. She looked expectantly at Kyle. Consume Gabby! And then we left. Kyle hurried to the set. Per normal, he ceased to be a ghost before he arrived. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. Throw artifact at Rachel. As she approached to shake his hands, Kyle produced the supernatural artifact and winged it at Rachel's face. Within moments of the artifact colliding with her head, Rachel started to turn into a lizard demon. Rachel began to cause destruction, tipping over lights and causing crew members to scatter. Realizing the disaster he had caused, he decided it was up to him to tame the monster. Throw crew members at monster. Kyle started to grab nearby crew members and hurl them at Rachel. The crew members rebounded off of Rachel on all sides, causing little to no damage to her or themselves. In a lizard demon rage, Rachel rushed at Kyle and drove him into the opposite wall face first. She began to pound Kyle's face into the wall repeatedly, littering it with head-sized holes. Kyle, having been in this situation before, felt he knew exactly what to do. Balling his fist, Kyle began to punch himself in the stomach repeatedly, causing loud gurgles and pops. Kyle's strategy did not help. He continued to be mashed into the wall. After a period of time, the artifact lodged into Rachel's face came loose and fell onto the floor. Rachel immediately turned into her normal human self. The studio, now in shambles, flickered to life. The broadcast had started automatically. Kyle, unable to move properly, became aware that the eyes of many were upon him. He tried to address the audience, but instead spewed some mixture of breakfast, phlegm, and chunks of wall. Kyle's spewing video became a very hot meme. Online personalities used it to express distaste about social issues. Teenagers sent it to each other about homework amounts. Rachel's broadcast was rescheduled the following week. Fans complained about not being able to see Rachel's face as she wore protective headgear the entire time. Oh no, Rachel prepared by being a lizard. That was one of the most wonderful things I've ever seen in my life. Oh no. Oh no. Another! Oh man, I love that. Let's try to see if we can defeat Lizard Rachel. Rachel began to cause destruction, tipping the lights and causing crew members to scatter. Kyle, realizing the disaster, he decided it was up to him to tame the monster. Throw self at monster. Kyle launched himself at the monstrous Rachel. In a great collision of flesh, Kyle ran face first into the monster's stomach. Kyle continued to launch himself into Rachel's stomach with wild abandon. After several dozen collisions, small insignificant bones in Kyle's body began to fracture. Kyle continued. Rachel began to lose stamina from incessant damage Kyle was inflicting upon her. Kyle continued his assault. Nobody present could tell what parts of his body were bruised and what weren't. Eventually, in one well-placed lunge, the artifact embedded in Rachel's face popped out. Immediately, Rachel turned back into her normal self. The studio, now in shambles, turned back on. Kyle addressed the audience. Kyle's spewing video became popular. I think this is the same. Fans complained to not buy. Yeah, all right. We already saw that one. Okay. Reset. Let's browse social media. I put on armor and I grabbed the claymore and I couldn't beat Rachel as a lizard demon. We're gonna wither away. Shucks. Get out of bed anyways. Open the closet. Choose an outfit. Suit of armor. Kyle wasn't sure of what exactly caused him to decide to wear his armor, but he felt like it was the right thing to do. After much squeezing and sweating, Kyle managed to wrap up the metal suit around his dumpy self. I want to say what we're gonna do is we're gonna scavenge. Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for resources. Kyle began to comb through the damp piles of filth and mold on his floor in search for helpful items. After finding and eating a few bits of crumbs and old cheese, Kyle found something much more important. Indeed, it was the corpse of Harry, a friend that had gone missing years ago while at Kyle's house. Kyle was glad to see him again, but was unsure of whether to interrupt such an important day with Harry business. Deal with Harry. Kyle hoisted Harry onto his shoulder and took him outside. Kyle began dragging Harry's body down the street, drawing many, many stairs. Kyle knew exactly where he needed to take Harry's corpse in a lovely playdate, just the two of them. Kyle and Harry started at the arcade. Kyle used Harry's arms to operate the joystick and push buttons. After 5 or 6 different games, the two friends had enough tickets for a single candy bar. They took their prize to the local park for eating. Kyle tried to feed some of the chocolate bar to Harry, but Harry seemed not to have an appetite. After eating, Kyle noticed a nearby playground. He dragged Harry over. Kyle tried to figure out a way to swing Harry on the swing set, but lacking the ability to grip, Harry kept falling out. Instead, Kyle started to lug Harry to the top of the slide and shove him down time and again. Finally, Kyle took Harry to the movies to see as many popular films as their pocket change would allow. Kyle quickly found that he had no pocket change, so he searched through Harry's corpse until he found his wallet. Kyle bought 2 tickets to a love romance. After getting inside, Kyle left Harry to go find a restroom. By the time Kyle had finished using the restroom, he had forgotten that he had brought Harry along. Kyle watched a love romance by himself. Harry's corpse sat on a bench in the atrium. While Kyle was in the movie, a beautiful thing happened. Harry's corpse, imbued with the power of friendship and love, was reanimated. Harry's old rotten flesh gained color and life. His fingernails regrew. His missing eye came back. By the time the movie was over, Harry was able to greet Kyle with a large friendly hug as his old self. Kyle was confused, but delighted that his long-lost friend met him on his way out of the theater. The two made plans to get drinks together and parted ways for the day. Kyle returned home, forgetting about the interview with Rachel. Kyle helped a friend. That was not my plan. That was wonderful. Another. Exit the bed. Let's try to see if we can get something with the bug vigilante. Scavenge for bugs. Kyle started to pick between the fuzz of his bedroom carpet, hoping to catch a stray beetle or two. Soon he had a handful of various insects, dead and alive, saved for later use. Kyle stashed the wriggling mass for later use. Kyle returned to the center of the room. Scavenge. Gossip. Kyle firmly pressed his ear into the carpet, hoping to hear some stray words from the neighbors below. I heard Rachel May is going on a trip out of the country soon. Oh, girlfriend, tell me more. Well, what I will tell you is that every night I don a mask that looks like a bug and fight misdoers. There was stunned silence. Then a door opened and someone exited the neighbor's apartment. That's quite enough. Now we exit. We go leave our apartment, visit downstairs neighbor. Kyle approached his downstairs neighbor's door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door. She looked at Kyle expectantly. Greet and start conversation. Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle cheerfully. Gabby looked at Kyle expectantly. Ask Gabby about Kyle. Ask Gabby about Rachel. Ask Gabby about Gabby. Ask Gabby about being a vigilante. Gabby, asked Kyle, are you the bug vigilante? For a moment, Gabby looked stunned, but then she realized his seriousness. Gabby nodded once. The door shut in Kyle's face. Back to street. Approach Rachel. Kyle responded. Scream and spin in circles. Kyle started to stretch out his arms wide, tilted his neck upward, and was interrupted by his producer telling him and Rachel that it was time to start the show now. Start the interview. After a moment, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on. Good evening, everyone, said Kyle, looking at the camera. Welcome to Staying Up Late with Kyle, introduced Rachel. Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction. Kyle motioned to Rachel, who smiled and waved at the camera. Hello, Kyle, she said. I'm glad to be here. Kyle, in response, collapsed to the floor. From a combination of stressful preparation and not eating anything, Kyle passed out. Nobody in the studio quite knew what to do with him. They began to poke Kyle in the back to see if he moved. After a while, they ended the broadcast, shut off the lights, and went home. Kyle was left face first on the floor. The end. Kyle prepared by starving himself. Well, there you go. Go figure. Let's do something with lard. Exit the bed. Sit at desk. Kyle made his way over to the desk and sat down. Check in the drawer. Ooh, there's a flashlight. I don't know if I saw that last time. Kyle opened the side drawer on his desk and grabbed one of the items stored there. Small key. Kyle grabbed the small key he kept in his desk. Back to desk. Kyle made his way over to the desk. Back to the room. Exit the bedroom hallway. We're going to go to the kitchen. And we're going to check the pantry. Kyle wanted to access the pantry, but found it was locked with a small key. Unlock with a small key! The pantry door lock creaked as if it hadn't moved for years, but eventually opened. Look in pantry. Instead of an assortment of canned goods and grains, Kyle's pantry stored his massive amounts of bottled lard. Grab a bottle of lard. Kyle grabbed a bottle of lard and stashed it on his person for later use. Back to the kitchen. Return to hallway. Leave apartment. Visit downstairs neighbor. Kyle approached his downstairs neighbor door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door. She looked at Kyle expectantly. Deposit lard. Kyle produced his bottle of lard, bit the glass neck off, and wordlessly dumped the contents on Gabby. As sticky lumps of fat drooled off her face, Gabby looked at Kyle expressionless. After a long minute of silence, she spoke. Can I help you, Kyle? Gossip to Gabby. Oh my gosh, Gabby! Did you hear that Rachel May's going out of the country soon? Screamed Kyle. With one smooth motion, Gabby turned around and slapped Kyle with her lard-infested hair. But suddenly, she stopped in the doorway, her back creating a dark outline in the frame. Perhaps, Kyle, she said, it will be better when she's gone. And shut the door. What does that mean? Kyle hurried to the set. Let's see what happens. Rachel's nudist ending. We got the nudist ending. Yeah, nudist. This is difficult. Kyle voraciously grabbed the closest bottle, snapped the neck against the wall, and sucked out all of the fat within a minute. Chug a lard bottle. Kyle wildly sucked down another bottle. He felt very sick. Chug a lard bottle. Kyle's vomit and lard were mixing in a way to make it hard to tell which was which. Finish off the pantry. Kyle finished off the last bottle of lard. He felt a wave of accomplishment come over him. Why? Why? Why was that an option? Open fridge. Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat. Eat the fridge! Kyle pointed his neck directly upwards and hoisted the fridge on top of his face. Somehow, miraculously, he wrapped his mouth around the device and started to swallow. In one slow, horrible movement, the fridge slid down Kyle's throat. After many gurgles, pops, and snaps, Kyle felt relatively sure the fridge would not come back out. Return to hallway. Kyle hurried to the set. Entry. Kyle vomited all of the horrible things he had eaten earlier onto the floor. Rachel looked at Kyle, concerned, gave a couple of coughs, and decided to play cool and keep the show running. Kyle stopped, then vomited again, and continued with a shaky voice. Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction. Kyle motioned to Rachel, who smiled and waved at the camera. Hello, Kyle, she said. I'm glad to be here. Well, I'm sure we have a lot to discuss, so we might as well dive right in, said Kyle. I'm very ready, Rachel said with a winning smile. In a shock, Kyle realized he had never bothered to prepare any notes for the interview. Knowing he had the eyes of millions upon him, Kyle came to a quick solution. Blame Rachel for lack of notes. Rachel, I need to be honest. You're not terribly interesting, and I could not think of what I should ask you. In fact, continued Kyle, I would far rather interview a fish than I would you. And furthermore, said Kyle, I'm not sure I can tell the difference between you and a fish. Kyle leaned back in his chair and desperately hoped the blame had been shifted adequately. Rachel glowered at Kyle. Kyle glowered back. Rachel left the studio. Kyle no longer had a guest and spent the next 42 minutes staring at the camera in silently. Kyle prepared by blaming others. Nice! Oh, my word. This might be one of my favorite games ever. If you enjoyed this and you want to see us get the other 14 endings, then hit that subscribe button. If you with me, hit that like button. If you have any comments or suggestions or tips on how to get the other endings, leave them in the comment section below. If you would share this video, and all of that would make my heart go. Kyle unhinged his jaw and swallowed an entire fridge. And as always, have an amazing rest of your day. Here's your heart and your blink. Bye.
Another! So Kyle opted to stick to... But he's a ghost! But he's a ghost! Balling his fist, Kyle began to punch himself in the stomach repeatedly, causing loud gurgles and pops. Oh no, Rachel prepared by being a lizard. That was one of the most wonderful things I've ever seen in my life. Oh no! Oh no! Kyle finished off the last bottle of lard. He felt a wave of accomplishment come over him. Why? In one slow, horrible movement, the fridge slid down Kyle's throat.